I think his philosophy was hard-nosed.
He was always prepared.
George is a true football man. My father was very competitive, just liked all kinds of sports and supported everything that we wanted to do. Very intense. I had the opportunity to go to work at East Syracuse Spinall, and Jack Griffin just became the head coach there. He was a great person to work for. And at that time, Vince Lombardi was coming into his own, and I was fascinated by how he turned programs around and his discipline. And so I kind of looked at Jack, who was an easygoing, almost never raised his voice, to a guy like Vince Lombardi who screamed and yelled all the time. So I kind of looked at those two people and really got me intrigued. I did not know a whole lot about football. I actually went to East Syracuse as a baseball coach. And once I started coaching football, I just fell in love with the game. To me, other than having great players, I mean, I don't care where you're coaching, if you don't have great players, you're not going to be able to win a lot. You need great coaches, and I've been blessed to have a great coaching staff for almost all the years that I coached.
He was also good with his assistant coaches. He knew their strengths and weaknesses. And he always used to laugh and joke. He says, "Tom, I surround myself with smart people, so I really look good."
When I became a head coach for the first time at Bishop Grimes, I knew that I didn't know a lot about football. Father Sheen offered me the job, and he says, "What do you want to do about a coaching staff?" I says, "I want the 4 people that didn't get the job." And he looked at me and goes, "Why do you want that? They're going to want your job." I says, "That's exactly why I want them, because they're going to make our program a better program."
Well, you had to be prepared, because he was going to find your weakness. His coaching staff did a tremendous job up in the booth. And if you gave a weakness up, he was going to exploit it.
One thing, when you always played Liverpool teams, and even back when he was at Bishop Grimes, you knew when those teams stepped on the field, they were prepared and had the kids in position to play the game.
I liken him to that rumbling volcano, because you knew he was a source of great strength. He had a great presence, but he didn't explode very often.
Sometimes maybe I pushed him a little too hard as I look back, but I thought it was a chance to really show young people how to make sacrifices, give them responsibility once they took the field, and then hold them accountable for what they did on and off the field. You can't motivate every athlete the same way. And my philosophy was to try and find out what it was to really motivate that person. And I thought if I could motivate him on the football field, we might find that motivate him academically.
I knew early that he was equally as interested, if not more, in shaping the players away from the field as much as on it. And Coach Mange has always had and always will have a special place in my heart, and looking back at my life and how he shaped it really single-handedly.
I think probably the more important aspect of Coach Mangicaro was how he looked at his players and wanted to mold us as young men. And I love his philosophy of demanding behavior that was respectable, not only on the football field, but especially off the football field, in school and in your everyday life. And he held us accountable to very, very high standards.
I got there when Timmy was a junior. I have never seen a young man work as hard as he worked to become the athlete that he became. He was one of the most fierce competitors I've ever seen in my life.
Strategically, he had this wishbone offense that no one else had, no one else really knew how to stop, and no one else really understood.
As a receiver, I shouldn't have liked the offense just because we never threw the football.
And the thing I love about Chris, he played for me. He was a receiver. We were a wishbone team at the time. We threw 30 passes that year. There's a kid that was so unselfish, never once complained. And then he made the choices in his life to get in the weight room, to do the things necessary to get to the next level. I very rarely tell a player, you have a chance to play at the Division I level, unless I really believe that they can.
Coach Mange actually pulled me out of study hall one period, had a talk with me in the hall, and kind of challenged me a little bit. So he shared with me for the first time what he saw and what I could become, as far as both a man and also as a football player.
I learned an awful lot from those two kids, and hopefully I was able to pass that philosophy on to some of the younger kids. You know, sometimes you have talent, sometimes you don't. Just what are you going to do with what you were born with, and make the most of it.
Cyber under center, back to pass, a long drop on first down. Looking long into the end zone, caught for a touchdown. Puts Liverpool on the board.
When alumni come back into town, they talk about how hard it was to play for him, how strict he was, and how he held them accountable. But every one of them say how much they appreciated that, you know, because he prepared them for life. And I think that's the greatest legacy of all, you know, preparing young kids for life. And I think when he became the AD, he did the same thing with the coaches. He made us, you know, accountable, and he was strict on us the same way he was on his kids, and it kind of raised the bar for everyone.
I would tell the coaches, I'm here to do whatever you need me to do. You don't need to do things for me. I need to do things for you. All of us seem to have a very similar philosophy in the sense that school came first, your public civic responsibilities were second, and then making the sacrifices necessary for your athletic teams to be successful. And we encouraged our kids to play multiple sports.
When he was an athletic director, he was a promoter of all sports. It wasn't just football. And we used to joke around, I was like, George, you know, and he goes, just because you're the football coach doesn't mean you get everything.
I think that you take all sports and they all can contribute to the growth of an individual. And one of the things that we tried to stress when I was coaching was that there are no shortcuts to success. When they can pick up that attitude that they have to make personal sacrifices, they have to work hard, they have to work with other people to be successful, not only athletically, but academically and socially, with so many different backgrounds that they all have to work together.
Together, everybody accomplishes more. And it's not about one person, it's about the greater good. And I think that's something that I certainly learned with Coach Mange at Liverpool High School.
I just wanted to try and be the best that I could be and pass on to the student athletes that I was coaching what it took to be successful in life. And part of it's winning. I'm not going to deny that. Football's a game. If you don't play football to win, you shouldn't play the game.
3, 2, 1, zeros, and Liverpool upsets Henniger 16-8. What a homecoming night for the Warriors.
I'm very fortunate to have the kind of career I had and to spend 22 years as the head football coach of Liverpool. Greatest honor anybody could ever have.